All right, I want to welcome everyone to our MSHAA Parents Meeting for all of our activities. Today's date is August 16th, 2021. We are conducting this meeting this year instead of in person via this video. We're going to post this on social media. We'll also send it in some emails and Canvas. The goal is to prevent one more in-person meeting or activity, just to ensure that we're able to continue to do all the things that we're on schedule to do, from all of our activities, events, 5 days of school, just all those things. It was our office's goal to eliminate one more thing to help with that. So the information I'm going to share is pretty standard information that we've had in these parent meetings in the past. This parent meeting discussion is from an overall umbrella of the management. This will not be sports specific. Each of your individual sports coaches will have a parents meeting that you will attend that will be more centered on individual sports stuff. This one is over a much broader, more MSHAA spectrum. The first thing I'm going to talk about is our forms. So we have some forms that are important. The first one is physical exams. Physical exams are required to be done every 2 years. If you're not sure if your student is due, you can contact our office and we can help you with that. There are parts of the form, though, that are due every year, from the contact information to the insurance. So be aware of that and be prepared to have that submitted. Those kind of things will come home with the student athletes. The second form is our code of conducts. This is a really important one because this one is the framework that governs a lot of the accountability for our student athletes. Obviously, it's pretty common that this educational process is to develop and enhance our athletes and our activities people for life. And so this code of conducts is one of those things that is a parameter, a set of rules that we all have as adults, and the young people need to get used to having those kinds of things. And if you don't meet them, there's an accountability. The important thing is that you all read it and sign it. It is required to have a parent's signature. Now, we do sometimes get those forms signed and we find out later they were not signed by parents. And sometimes the athletes get in a time crunch on a deadline to get those in. So I would be asking your young person, where is this code of conducts that I'm supposed to sign? Make sure you get it and read it. And if there's anything on it, I'm not going to read it word for word in this meeting, but if there's anything on it that you need help with or you have a question, contact our office and we'll be happy to help you. The next form is our drug testing form. And this is a board-approved item, just like the code of conducts. And each of our young people that have a parking pass or participate in MSHAA activities must have a drug testing form signed by you and the athlete on file. This is something that we do randomly. It is done every 2 weeks. And something that is a requirement to participate. If you have more questions on this, please contact our office and we will help you with those. Next is the eligibility requirements for all of the participants in our activities. There are several things that are required. Number one, academics. There's 3 groups: traditional student, non-traditional 1, and non-traditional 2 students. All 3 have a little bit of a different standard, but all end up in the same place. I'm not going to outline each. I've had several people contact my office who have someone in the non-traditional 2 and the non-traditional 1 category. That's what I would encourage you to do. If you know that your student is not traditional, meaning in person, full-time with a full load, then I would contact our office so that we can talk about that process with you of how you obtain eligibility. All 3 groups, though, do have a set thing that they must do in order to be eligible. The traditional student, of course, they must pass 80%. So that gives one, if you have a full load, you technically could get 1 F. We don't want any student getting an F, but they technically could. If you don't have a full load, then potentially not. So there is a set of academic standards, though, for all groups. Next is attendance. On our activity event days, we must have our students in attendance, of course, unless they're non-traditional 1 or non-traditional 2, then there could be some difference there. If they're traditional, they must be in attendance. If for some reason they can't be, it can be excused from my office, but my office needs to be contacted. For example, funerals, doctor's appointments, etc. But please contact my office in that event. Next is the behavioral situation. There are some behavioral standards that must be met in order to be eligible to compete. And that falls in with the code of conduct or the individual team guidelines. There are some team guidelines that our coaches will communicate in their individual meeting, which we will support. Make sure that you know what those are, but they must be met in order to be able to participate. Lastly, there are eligibility requirements to compete at the next level, NCAA or NAIA. And it's important that you know what those are. You can contact my office for help with that, or you can contact Heidi Conti in the counselor's office in order to get advisement on what you need to do in order to meet NCAA or NAIA for those student athletes going to that next level. The fourth item is our parent issue protocol. If there's ever an issue that a parent has and they want to discuss that issue with the coach, we have a policy here of a 24-hour rule. That means that after an event, we need you to wait 24 hours, contact the coach, set up an appointment with the coach and myself, need be, and then we'll have a meeting. Obviously, anytime that there is an issue, often it's better for all parties to have time to think things through and become as rational as possible before there's a meeting. So it's just critical that we adhere to this. It isn't because things are going to be avoided, but because we want all heads clear when we meet. So make sure that you respect this policy, and this should go both ways, coach to parent, parent to coach. Within that process of a parent issue, understand that playing time isn't negotiable. Our coaches are hired to decide who plays. So it's important that parents understand that lobbying for playing time is not effective. Obviously, a parent can ask questions along the lines of what does a student athlete need to do, but lobbying for playing time will not be effective, and something that our coaches are told not to negotiate with. Their job's to decide which players at the varsity game are going to give us our best chance of being successful. You know, all coaches are charged, number one, not with winning games, number one, with developing young people, with developing them in the formats of being transformational. But after that, in the varsity event, they're charged with putting out the best product. And so they're going to be meeting that standard. And sometimes that means that not everybody's going to get to play. And so you need to understand that. And then the last part of that is everyone needs to, before they meet, at least take a moment to think about one possible scenario, and that is putting your shoes in the other person's shoes. So if a coach wants to meet with a parent, they need to think from the perspective of the parent. And if a parent wants to meet with a coach, that parent needs to think from the coach's perspective before you meet, because sometimes that will help take off the blinders that a coach might have and the blinders that a parent would have. The next item is facility reminders about all of our facilities. Number one, parking on campus. It's really important that we understand and adhere to the red fire zone. When you come to one of our events, make sure that we park only in places that are parking places. This is really important. It's important that when you come to one of our events that you're prepared to pay when there is a gate. If you want a pass, those passes are available. Contact our office and we can work you through those season passes or senior passes or whatever pass that you qualify for, we can help you with. It's important that you understand if you want to come to school that if it's during school hours, you must check in the main office. Parents cannot simply just come in any exit at any time. Check in the main office and you'll be taken care of there appropriately, or your student will be brought to you. If we have any events with inclement weather, we will have an inclement weather plan in place. And so if you attend one of our football games as an example, if we have inclement weather, we're going to be bringing you into the most interior part of the school, or the gym if it's just lightning. There will be a different standard. For each of our programs, there will be an inclement weather plan, and we just ask that you adhere to that if you're here, because it's for your safety. And then lastly, entering the fields, courts, when we are away, it is very important that everyone understands and respects all of the venues that we go and visit. Not every place is going to let us go on the court or the field. We have to respect that, all right, and make sure that if that's a standard that we respect it and adhere to that school's request. Next is a trainer. We're very blessed. Claire Chamberlain is our athletic trainer through Lake Regional here in Lebanon. She does a tremendous job, works really hard. There are policies with her that are in place, and it's important that our student athletes adhere to those policies. Also, it's important that you as a parent understand that you have access to the trainer. You can communicate with the trainer. Sometimes the trainer will communicate with you in lieu of one of our coaches, since they are the expert on that. So there is that open line of communication with our athletic trainer and the parent. So if you ever have any question on that, please contact our trainer or contact my office and we can help you get a hold of our trainer. They are there to help our student athletes and communicate with you, the parent. Fan conduct. This is always one that's a lot of fun, but it's important that we always go over. There is an expectation for our coaches and our players, but there's also an expectation for fans. We've got to make sure that we're doing the right things with our officials. Obviously, I know we get excited sometimes, and sometimes we get emotionally hijacked a little bit, but don't cross the line. Everybody knows what the line is. We don't want to cross it. We always want to stay respectful. We want to stay professional. And we always got to remember that this is high school athletics. It isn't professional athletics. It isn't college athletics. We don't cross the line. We've got to do the right things. Whenever we do have an individual cross the line, which typically the official is going to address that issue, they're going to contact the administration. The administration is then going to be approaching you as the parent or fan and asking you to stop, or they're going to be asking you to leave. We don't ever want to get to that, all right? And then lastly, obviously, if at that point in time things don't calm down, then we have to get authorities. We don't want to do any of that. Our goals here as coaches and as parents are to provide an educational environment. And that educational environment means that, we are showing composure. And we can't do that if we get emotionally hijacked in a game because of an official's call in a high school game. So it's okay to get excited, but don't cross the line. And I think everybody knows what that is. Next is with your kid and other kids with conduct. And number one, with your kid, be careful crossing the line of burnout. I always tell parents that I think that the parent role, number one, is that you support them. They come home, they're working hard, they're competing in athletics. You know what they really need to hear from a parent is, hey, I love you and I'm proud of you. And really, that's good enough, because coaches are hard enough on them. They don't need more coaches at home. And I know sometimes that, parents are very knowledgeable and are very involved. But just keep thinking, though, if they're getting it from every direction, is it fun anymore? And we want to be careful we burn them out, because when they burn out, they don't want to do it. And if they're not engaged, then they're not learning life lessons, which is really what this is all about. Because when we think things through, the reality is that 97% of all of our high school participants in activities, they stop doing this in high school. I know that's really hard because I know a lot of us are thinking about the possibility of our young person earning a scholarship, and it's there for everybody. But the reality is that only 3% get one. And so our focus needs to be in every way about the fact that our young person is being developed for life. Because really that's what it ends up being for all of them, even if they do go compete in college. But for most of them, it's right now. And so that needs to be our focus as an athletic director, as coaches. We need to be doing things to develop them for life. And obviously, from the parent standpoint, just the same. The other would be other kids or other teams. We need to be careful when we're in the stands, and sometimes we get excited and we maybe get emotionally hijacked in that realm. We don't want to say something about another player. That other player's parents or family might be earshot away. And so we need to be careful not to do that. It's not the right thing to do. So be careful. And that includes the other team's kids. It's just not the right thing to do at the high school level. And again, that's getting emotionally hijacked. And I get excited too, and I love it. Lebanon Yellow Jacket athletics, I love it. But we just can't cross the lines, and we know what they are. And that's kind of what this meeting is all about, reminding us of those lines. The next topic is college recruiting. Any of you that have interest in your young person, or your young person has interest in going to the next level, I think it's important that you come in and meet with me, with your student athlete. We can sit down and talk about a lot of different things in the realm of recruiting. I can give you a lot of advisement. I've been very blessed. I've coached for 27 years. I've been a head coach for 21, and I've had a lot of young people go on and play at the next level. So I've been through it with a lot of them. I also have had my own son go through it. So I experienced it as a parent. And so I can help set up an appointment, and we can go through that. Your coaches, obviously, also all of them need to be involved. They shouldn't be out on the sideline on this. They need to be involved in that process as well, and they will help. And then obviously our counseling office, in particular, Heidi Conti, is a great resource. But get information. I think that's pivotal. Even if you go your own direction on how you approach it, I think it's important that you hear from people who have experienced it and their experiences, and get assistance. The next item is, how do I get information? We're in a day and age right now where there's so much information everywhere that I think we get spoiled in thinking that information is just going to fall in our lap. 20, 25 years ago, if you wanted information about something from a high school, you had to go get that information, or you had to have your young person get it. There was an expectation when the young person came home and they didn't have the information. You were on them about where is the information. Nowadays, we have social media, we have the newspaper, the radio, we have all these other things that I think sometimes we just feel like, well, I'll eventually see it. Well, the reality is that it could be posted every single day and you still could miss it. It could be in the paper 3 times and it could be missed. It could be on the website, but it could be hard to navigate. It's really important, if you haven't gotten information about your son or daughter's team, reach out. My office, the specific coach, but seek that information. Now, there are some things out there available to you without calling. Many of our coaches do put information on social media so you could follow them. Not all of them do, though. And it isn't an expectation that they have to. Honestly, social media can be worrisome for some of us in this coaching field and just wear us out. So the ones that don't, I don't blame them. Some do. I do. I do it to try to pump out information as best as possible, and I feel like it's my job, especially as athletic director. But you go find that information, and if it's available on social media, great. Other ways, there are some information on our school website, and so you can navigate through that to get that information. And then obviously as well, you could contact other parents potentially that are within your organization. But I think that the safest thing and the best thing is to contact your specific coach. If you're not sure when the camp is, where's the calendar, when's this, when's that, contact your coach because they're going to know. And so that's the best bet, but seek that information. The next item is the MSHAA information, the MSHAA website. I would encourage any parent that wants to get MSHAA information to go on to MSHAA.org. There is a lot of information about our state governing body, the governing body that is governed by our member schools. So every single bylaw and every single item that's on that organization is put forth by us, by the schools. But there's a lot on there. You can click and look at the handbook on your own, so you can look at specific rules and bylaws. You can find our schedule on there. You can find our schedule on the school website also. And there's a lot of information. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, look at that and look at that information. The last thing that I'm going to highlight in this meeting today, and I appreciate you spending the time watching this, is the Why We Play initiative. This is an initiative that's put forth by the Missouri High School Activities Association, which here at Lebanon High School, we are on board 100%. And the bottom line is with that, is that the reason that we coach and the reason that they play should be the development. All right. Very simplistically, coaches should be focused on developing them transformationally, not transactionally. Transformational development means that they are trying to make that athlete a better person for life by caring about more than what they simply give to the team or them. They don't want to be a transactional coach. A transactional coach is a coach that only cares about what that athlete's going to give me in order to help us win ball games. Yeah, winning is a part of this. I know that. But it's not number one. Number one is helping that 97%, 100% eventually, but that 97% when they finish our activities here at Lebanon High School or Lebanon Middle School, that they are ready for life as best as possible from what we can give them, the support that we give. And so it's important that everybody's on board with that. And obviously, it's something that we really value. So in closing, again, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Our office is always available for you. I know sometimes there's information that you don't like, but our office is available, and I'm happy to help. I consider myself as the athletic director, the activities director at Lebanon. I'm a servant to our kids, number one, our coaches, and you, the parents. It is a triangle. Not one group's more important than the other, and it all works together. But that's my job. So if I can serve you better, then contact me and allow me the opportunity to do that. Thank you, and have a great, great school year.